All right, everyone, welcome back. This is my first podcast since Christmas, which was just the day before yesterday, so not very long. I hope everyone had a wonderful, wonderful Christmas. I had a pretty good one. I'll tell you what, guys. Um, I'm pretty much a workaholic, have definitely been a workaholic for the last several years. And it's not, for me, it's all dependent on what I'm doing, how much passion I feel, if I feel like there's a mission or a goal. But the last couple of years, I was very absent around the holidays. And I knew that, very much about working. For the last few years, I worked, I taught my English classes online from, I think, 2016, 2017, 2018, and I don't think 2015, but at least the last 3 years on Christmas and on Thanksgiving, I was teaching online during each morning. I would teach the next day. It was like a totally regular time, regular day for me. However, this Christmas was a little different because I am going to Taiwan next week, and I'll tell you what, I cannot fucking believe it. But because I am taking off across the world next month, and I plan on being gone for a good portion of next year. Like I said, though, it's open-ended, which is so funny. People think I'm so fucking crazy for doing that. But because of that, I have been taking time to enjoy these moments with some friends and family that I have not always or historically done. And I'm very glad I did it. So this last week, I went to my best friend's house for Christmas Eve, and I spent time with his family and, people that I've grown up with for years. And it was, if I was not leaving next week, I probably wouldn't have done it. I would have gone, no, sorry, I got to work on Christmas morning. And that's what I would have done. And then, it just would have been a short holiday season all the way around. I mean, last Christmas season, I was invited out to some family friends, and I didn't go because I wanted to go out dancing instead. But you got to remember that a lot of that comes from a lot of these behaviors. They kind of come from the expectation that things will be the same. And it's an important part of how we live, how we perceive things. In general, we kind of have to function in some capacity like, what is here today will be here tomorrow. Otherwise, that's just how we have to frame our lives and our reality. When the actual reality is that many of the things in our lives could be dramatically changed or gone tomorrow. And a lot of times it takes these moments where you're going to go away for a while or do something to really enjoy the time that you have. And it's funny because this made me realize that I think everybody, I really think everybody should, and when I say should, I mean like if you had the means to do it, if possible, everyone should go on an extended trip far away from their home. And it should merely be, at least for the reason of appreciating for what you have in your life at the moment. Because you will. If you plan on going away to a place for, several months or, at least a few months, at least, then before you go, you want to see everybody that even if you're not necessarily in total agreement with, you figure out. It's so funny because it's like your mind adjusts. It's like, hey, I've got some problems with these people, but, we're still friends or we're still family. So instead of looking at the bad, instead of looking at what I don't like about this person, I'm going to just focus on the good. And the thing is, we can do that. And that is, it's remarkable what you can do when you know that there's going to be a big change up ahead. And it reminds me of a Joe Rogan podcast where I can't remember who it was, but was talking about how he when he counted the days, or when he counted how many times he sees his parents per year, it was just a couple times a year, like during the holidays, maybe twice a year, maybe like a birthday and a holiday. And when he realized that, and he realized how many years that they would probably keep living, he was like, oh, I'll probably only see my parents like 15 more times, some shit like that, like over the span of, maybe 7 years, or over a span of 2 or 3 years, maybe 5 to 7 years, he would only see his parents a few more times before they died, in the best case scenario. And I'm not worried about necessarily that, but that type of understanding about the world is it's more true than we think. I think a lot of us do underestimate the fact that our lives could dramatically change at any given moment. People we know and love could disappear off this earth. And we don't take the time to appreciate a lot of the shit that we have and the people in our lives. That's absolutely true. Same with me. What I'm trying to say is that the perspective that I've had getting ready for this trip, it has made me want to spend time with people that I sometimes have neglected, or, that you just take for granted. That's really what it is. You take it for granted that you'll see these people. They'll be here when you get back. They'll be here tomorrow. They'll be here next month. But then when you know you're going to be gone for a while, then it makes you appreciate the people in your life more. And I'll tell you what, I'm so glad I decided to do this on a holiday season, on so close to the holidays, like in the holidays. I'm literally going to be on a plane next Wednesday as the ball drops in Houston for New Year's Day. Like, I will be flying to Taiwan on New Year's Day, on New Year's Eve, on New Year's, on the minute of New Year's. And so I'm glad that I chose this time, because it has made the holiday season more sweet. So it made my Thanksgiving more enjoyable. It made my Christmas more enjoyable, where even though we find ourselves getting caught up in all of our day-to-day stuff, and everybody gets stressed around the holidays because of, gonna have family over and everything, and all that. Even though there's all this stress going on, at the same time, I had a different perspective, which is I want to just enjoy this time. And I worked less, and I tried to have a little bit of fun while I could. And I'll tell you what, it was really cool. I've had some really good times this holiday season. So you know what, man? I guess I'm just ranting about enjoying your holidays. Yeah, I hope everyone was able, or has been able, to enjoy the holidays and slow down and take a look at what they've got and realize that, man, when Gary Vaynerchuk talks about how lucky it is to be a person, it's sometimes it's hard to understand how lucky we are. Anyway, let's take a break. I'll be right back after this message from my sponsor. Okay, guys, so let's give a little update on the porno consumption. So I think I mentioned that, so I am trying to quit totally watching porn, and okay, that's the goal. And I have not met the goal. I have relapsed, LOL. But that's okay. So I went on a period, I went 2 months without watching porn at all. And I'm happy about that. So, let's just say I had you could say I had a bit of a weak moment. And I was like, okay, fuck it. You know what? I'll just, chill out, get back on it, and start again. So anyway, I went on a 2-month no porn spree, which it's so funny because I read these, I follow these guys like, Tate or like Cernovich or anything like that. And a lot of, it's not even that. Honestly, here's the thing. There is a huge understanding that porn in general is it's really fucking with people's minds. So, like, I've even mentioned that I realized I kind of had an issue with watching it. And I mean, when I say I had an issue with watching it, I in no way needed porn. Like, I was in no way sacrificing, like, when I'm with my girlfriends, or I don't have multiple at one time, but when I've been with girlfriends or with women, that's never been an issue. I do know for some people it is, but I just noticed that that's what my mind wanted to go to too often for me, and I think too often for a lot of guys. I think a lot of guys would like to stop watching it so much. And it's doable, very doable. So anyway, like I said, I went 2 months and, had a bit of took a little peek-see. So I am going to be starting the clock over. Let's see if I can get it to at least 6 months or more. And it's funny because I kind of like that. I kind of like the way of looking at it like that. So you take stepping stones. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about what's going on with YouTube. So there have been some new YouTube regulations. I am not familiar with the details of the regulations, except that I have been hearing and reading some blurbs about them, that it's about protecting people from being harassed based on, of course, their race, religion, gender identity, all that shit, which is funny because it's like, you just can't say anything anymore. But lots of people are being taken down. Recently, there's been a big attack on crypto channels. And I was following that on Twitter yesterday. And then this morning, I watched a video from Tim Pool. And Tim Pool discussed how the crypto situation could be more about financial regulations than just about YouTube being assholes, even though YouTube is assholes. YouTube is all the assholes. But he mentioned that since YouTube has been has been becoming more and more mainstream, it is possible that the way people have structured their advice or suggestions around Bitcoin could violate some kind of guidelines financially. But there's that. But people have been saying, there was warnings, like Gavin McInnes and Steven Crowder were both warning that in December, the new YouTube guidelines that were coming out were going to basically bring up a whole nother kind of like, not adpocalypse, but a purging of the YouTube system. And I want to talk about that for a second. YouTube, let's pivot over to YouTube. YouTube is becoming more and more, oppressive, more censorious. They are censoring more and more content. And of course, they're legally allowed to do that. Ethically, they should not be doing what they're doing. They are, going after, they're going after lots of political rivals, people that are conservative, while keeping up content that is anti-white or anti-Republican or anti-conservative or anti-American they're cool with, but they'll go after people and channels that are critical of the left and liberals and critical of left-wing politicians. But my prediction is that YouTube's not going to be around forever. And of course, that's obvious, right? They're not going to be around forever. But I think that, so everybody knows that Twitter's fucked up. But Twitter, I do sincerely believe they make a lot of mistakes, and then I think they try to go back and fix it. And, hearing Jack Dorsey come out, I really, really, really was impressed with Jack Dorsey coming out and doing all these interviews. He did interviews all over the place. He did an interview with Gad Saad. He did an interview with, Joe Rogan. He did some big time interviews with some tough situations. And what that showed me was that, Jack and some other people at Twitter want to do the right thing. Whether or not they're filtering things properly in their own minds is another thing. Like they all live in their own bubble. That's one of the problems. But I sincerely believe some people, not everyone, I think some people at Twitter really want to do the right thing. At YouTube, I don't know if that's the case. Nobody, like we all heard about what Joe Rogan said about the CEO of YouTube, how she wanted to get rid of Ben Shapiro content, but she couldn't at the time. We know that these left-wingers at YouTube want to get rid of all kinds of content. And it even sucks because, one of my favorite channels, Your Mom's House, was coming under flack. And they were talking about how their YouTube views went way down after one of their recent videos. And it was like, I knew this was going to happen. I knew this shit was going to happen. And I felt really bad. And it also, this is the thing. I love a lot of these comedians that I love listening to, right? Like, I love listening to Joe Rogan, Chris D'Elia, Bobby Lee, and Your Mom's House. Those are awesome. But because a lot, and also H3H3, here's the thing, though, that they don't understand, that people that are a little bit more political do understand, is that a lot of these guys, whether it be Joe on occasion, whether it be Ethan Klein regularly, Chris D'Elia doesn't really talk shit, but, Your Mom's House, every once in a while they'll make, they don't make fun of Trump supporters, but they've done so. But what they don't understand is that by placating to the left-wing side of the political spectrum, they've opened themselves up for this censorship. And don't get me wrong. I mean, I guess a part of me wants to say, well, they couldn't have changed it themselves. But here's what pisses me off. You got people like H3H3 podcast, right? I love that podcast. I just disagree with what Ethan says a lot about Trump supporters. He likes to take a lot of shots on people that don't agree with him politically, as just dismissing them as just being like dumb or not understanding. It's funny because he doesn't understand a lot of the issues he talks about. But I mean, it's okay. He's more there for entertainment. But what gets me is that it's the left wingers that are bringing about all of this, the pressure to censor. So it's social justice warrior children. That's another thing. I actually think a lot of the censorship is being driven. I think that it's adults who are finding the targets a lot of times, but I think it's kids who are leading the charge because they're stupid. They're easily influenced. And it's like the K-pop thing. Ethan Klein made a joke about K-pop stars and he got severely attacked. And I kept thinking, okay, so judging by some of the comments, I was like, I bet a lot of these are kids. A lot of these have to be kids. And when I say kids, I mean like teenagers, preteens, because like no adult, somebody who's working like a regular job, paying for shit, there's no way they're getting this upset about him making fun of K-pop people. But when you're a kid and music is your whole life and you really don't have your identity set, when somebody takes a jab at your artists like that, calls them gay or twinks or whatever, then yes, you might get really, really deeply offended by that. And so, but anyway, what I was getting at is that all of these comedians who are all about free speech and lack of censorship, because that's how they make their living, is off of free speech, have all failed. Almost all of them have failed to stand up for people that are conservative. And that is what pisses me off about that situation. Like Ethan Klein I love the show. Sometimes, it's a good show. And I love watching the journey of where they've come from and where they are now. But when he starts going off about, Trump being stupid or Trump supporters being dumb or this, that, and the other, it pisses me off because I want to say like, dude, I don't know if you mean it or if you're pandering to the left, because that happens a lot with a lot of people. But the bottom line is the people you are trying to appeal to by calling Trump supporters dumb or implying that they're dumb are the people that want to get you kicked off of YouTube and have you lose sponsors for making fun of K-pop artists. It's the same people. The people that that you appeal to when you make fun of Trump supporters are the same motherfuckers who want you to lose all of your sponsors and income because you made fun of K-pop artists. Like, that's the bottom line. That is the reality of the situation. And it's sad, it's disgusting that those people are out there like that. But when it comes to, and when I say sad, disgusting, I'm talking about the people that want other people to lose their income for political statements. But, it's the same thing with Joe Rogan. I love Joe Rogan's podcast. I think he's a legend. He's an absolute legend. But, he's too quick sometimes to make fun of more of the more conservative end of the spectrum. He, in my opinion, Joe goes through a constant process of light pandering to the left in order to kind of save face with that regard, because he knows that going too far against some of the left-wingers will get people too riled up against him. And, Joe can stand on his own 2 feet independently, but it's like, why go through the fight if you don't have to? But I guess here's my issue, is that as long as these comedian types, and I know Bobby Lee's a lib, but at least he really doesn't talk doesn't talk much about politics. But my thing is this, is that because of these comedians failing to call out liberals for the last 40 years, here's the thing. How about this? Here's a good way to put it. Anyone with a fucking brain cell knows that the left-wingers are the problem currently, right? I am not saying that Republicans are fantastic or conservatives are great, but the conservatives that are voting for Trump are not the ones that are trying to get people fired for saying that biological sex exists. They're not the ones trying to boycott a restaurant because they donate to Christian charities. Okay, they're not doing that. Conservatives will complain and they'll bitch and they'll moan, but they don't go out and cause the same destructive damage that the liberals do. And the liberals are the ones, the left-wingers are the ones that are trying to get people kicked off of platforms all the time. They're trying to get people thrown in jail in other countries for hate speech. And so it's like, in my opinion, and the Trump derangement syndrome is so strong. Everybody knows, especially comedians, they have to, that everybody has to recognize that the hate for Trump is out of line with the reality of the situation, whether it's about kids in cages, whether it's about open borders, whether it's about the tax situation, about Ukraine, about Russia. It's all fucking insane what is being said. And it's patently obvious to me that the left-wingers are the ones that are pushing all of this stuff. And I think comedians know this. I think a lot of them know it, but I think a lot of them, because they don't want to upset the audience, because they know that the left-wingers attack. Conservatives don't really attack, so it's kind of safe to pick on them occasionally, but it's not safe to go after left-wingers, which is why I think some of these comedians will joke about Trump being an idiot and things like that. I'm not saying people shouldn't be able to joke about Trump being stupid. Trump says crazy shit. He texts crazy shit. But the fact that these comedians have not been calling out left-wing hypocrisy, that they have not been calling out the censorship on the left. Now it's on their doorstep. It is on their fucking doorstep. Every comedian has been talking about censorship since Dave Chappelle talked about it in his special, which I didn't see, but I just heard about it. But everyone kind of had a brief thing where they made comments about it, and then it kind of died down. And now with YouTube enacting their rules, there's probably going to be some more shit. I said, but this issue with censorship is coming from the left, and it's too bad that these comedians have not caught on, because they are going to be the first to be. They're going to be maybe not the first, but they're going to get chopped, and this is how they make their fucking living. And I love watching shows like Your Mom's House, and now I'm worried that they are going to take a hit financially by this whole deal. I think they will. I think they will take a hit. They'll take a hit from ad revenue. Not as many people will be able to see the podcast. They could get kicked. They could lose their channel. And that would be horrible. And if we see that kind of stuff, then it's the end for YouTube. So I think YouTube is going to lose in the end. I think they're going to lose because of their censorship practices and unless they fix them. But, people would like to say there's no alternative. There isn't yet. I think when we have for one, we can see what a company like TikTok is doing. TikTok is becoming very, very, very well known. It's growing in popularity. Is it going to take over YouTube? No. But you just got to watch out, man. You got to watch out for the next video platform. You got to watch out for the next thing, the next jump in technology. Eventually, if YouTube doesn't get their shit together, they will go down. It may take a lot of time, but they will go down if they don't get their shit together. So anyway, that's all I got to say for today. Thank you for listening. You can go to my website, tstutch.com. Check out my YouTube channel, Taylor Space Stutch. Like and subscribe. Email me, tayradio1@gmail.com. Thank you. Have an awesome day. Hey, everybody. This episode, welcome back, is going to be, I talk a little bit about the holiday wrap-up, some perspective and things that I have noticed this holiday season that I didn't always notice. And I discuss how these holidays have been different since I'm going to be going out of the country for a while. And I think leaving the country would be good for a lot of people to not only gain perspective about the country and the world, but also about the people who you care about in your life. Anyway, enough with that sappy ass shit. Later on, I talk about update on my abstinence from porn. I talk about YouTube, the new controversy with YouTube and censorship. So take a listen, but also go to my website, tstutch.com, tstuch.com, YouTube channel, Taylor Space Stutch. You can like and subscribe. Email me, tayradio1@gmail.com. Thank you. Enjoy the episode.
The podcast you just heard was made using Anchor. Ever thought about making your own podcast?